Everybody still asleep? Morning. Carson Meredith with you. It is Sunday, August 4th. Hope you are well. Hope your weekend's going well too. And I hope you're enjoying the quiet weather. I think we all are, right? Goodness gracious, what a crazy week it has been. As you know by now, no morning newscasts on TV here on Wait because of the Olympics. So we are here. Give you a quick weather update here at home. Not a whole lot of changes to our forecast locally, but there are some changes, slight changes, but still significant changes with Debby. It is churning towards Florida this morning, and you're going to be hearing a lot about Debby in the days to come, I'm afraid. So we're going to talk about those changes this morning. First, we will go to the comments. Angela says, good morning. Getting ready for church. Yeah, good to be with you this morning, Angela, as always. David says, good morning. Rose says, good morning as well. I won't be here too long this morning because, again, things are fairly quiet. But since we don't have our regular TV shows on the mornings right now, want to make sure you guys still have the weather info you need wherever we can talk to you guys. That's why we love having Wave Weather Now, Louisville's only 24/7 weather live stream. It's right here. All right, that's the live view of Bardstown this morning. It's a quiet morning. Didn't see quite as much fog. At least here in the city, we didn't see a whole lot. But if you saw those heavier downpours yesterday, there was a little fog earlier this morning, but it is all gone now. But it's a bit hazy out there, and that, once again, is because of wildfire smoke from out west. I don't have a map graphic in my show here this morning to show you that fog, or that smoke, I should say, but that smoke is out there. So it's going to be a little hazy as the day goes on. No air quality concerns, but just something to keep in mind as you are out and about today. So not too bad. Here's a view from a few Mesonet cameras across the bluegrass. Temperatures are mild. It is muggy. It's going to stay muggy for a while, gang. There's no refreshing air in sight, if you will, at least when it comes to the humidity. But there is a cool down still in the 10-day. 73 in Bullitt County, 72 in Carroll and Taylor County. And good morning to our friends in Oldham County, where it is 75 degrees. So warming up nicely as the day goes on. Radar. Isn't that a beautiful sight? Nothing. Radar is totally quiet. This may be the first time radar has been totally quiet in a week. Maybe longer than that, actually, now that I think about it. That's just some ground clutter near Fort Knox, so no concerns at all. There is, however, still a teeny tiny chance for a shower this afternoon. I'm not sold on it, just to be totally honest with you. I'm not sold on it. However, some of the higher resolution models are trying to squeeze out a couple little blips on the radar this afternoon because of that warm, humid air mass that we're stuck under right now. So still keeping that 10% shower chance this afternoon just to be on the safe side should not be a problem at all. Again, I'm not totally sold on that, but I don't want you guys to be caught off guard if there is a little green dot on the radar this afternoon. Otherwise, the big story is the big blue H. High pressure continuing to take hold. The low that was responsible for the mess we had last week and the downpours yesterday, it's up near New York City this morning. Stalled boundary stretches from New York City down towards Philly, the nation's capital, into Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia, and that is where we will have quite a bit of thunderstorm activity again later today. They had numerous severe thunderstorm warnings in that part of the world last night. There's a good chance they'll have that today, but we don't have to worry about that as that high pressure continues to settle in, keeping things nice and quiet, maybe for quite some time. There's still some little rain chances to talk about. Storm Chaser Jason on YouTube says, good morning. Ashley says, just got back from Disney and mom's got COVID. Oh, man, that stinks. Thank the good Lord that COVID is not as terrifying as it was a few years ago, right? But hope your mom is on the mend soon, Ashley, and hope you had a good trip to Disney as well. I'm sure it was hot down there. You picked the right week to go to Florida and get out of there because, as you'll see here in a minute, it's going to be a little bit dicey, really over the next 24 hours in the Sunshine State. Don't have to worry about anything like that here at home. The main issue for the next 3 days really is the heat. I really didn't have to change the temperatures much with our forecast this morning. Still going with a high of 92. Factor in that humidity. Is it the miserable humidity levels? No, but I mean, it's still humid, right? It's August after all. So we could still see that heat index get up towards 98, 99, maybe 100 during that peak heat of the afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock. So if you're going to be outside during that peak heat, take it easy, stay cool, hydrated. If you can get in the shade for a few minutes, that's fine. I would recommend, though, taking some breaks indoors in the AC, if at all possible, later on today. And this heat index chart that you see, it's basically a copy and paste for Monday and Tuesday. Now, the difference with the next couple of days is it's going to be a little bit hotter than what we have today. So 92 for your Sunday, 94 for Monday, 96 on Tuesday. That would tie the hottest day that we've had so far in 2024, which, by the way, today is going to be day number 31 this year with highs in the 90s. And that surpasses the number of 90-degree days we saw all of last year, which was 30. So by all accounts, this has been a fairly warm summer. It hasn't been a record breaker necessarily. In fact, I think July was right around average, if you can believe that. But it's certainly been a little bit warmer than what we had last summer. But you notice by Wednesday, we still are expecting that drop into the upper 80s. There's some models trying to nudge us back up to near 90 degrees on the dot, but it is going to be noticeably cooler by Wednesday. And that's thanks to a weak low pressure that's going to scoot through wave country Tuesday night and Wednesday. There's not a lot of moisture with that low pressure, with that system, but I'm going to keep a 20% chance for a few downpours Tuesday night into Wednesday as that system scoots through. But the nice thing you'll notice with it is those slightly cooler temperatures by the middle of the week. Savannah's asking about the weather for the first day of the fair on the 15th. Good question. It's not in our 10-day forecast just yet, Savannah. It will be later on this week. But the long-term trends, generally speaking, have things getting a little more active again by state fair time. And by active, I'm not necessarily saying, clusters of severe storms over and over and over again like we had last week. I'm just saying there'll be a few more storm chances to talk about than what we currently have in the 10-day. All right, that's the setup for here at home. Pretty quiet. No major concerns aside from the heat. This, my friends, is the big weather headline right now, and that's Debby. It is still getting its act together this morning. It's been over open water all night and all morning. The Gulf of Mexico is bathwater. I mean, it is incredibly, incredibly warm, and that is what these tropical cyclones love. If you've got low wind shear and you've got incredibly warm water, it's just a brewing ground for very quick organizing tropical storms and tropical cyclones in general. Here's the latest info from the National Hurricane Center. 60-mile-per-hour winds, moving still to the north and northwest, and that's a problem. We were hoping that Debby would kind of make that turn into Florida sooner, in the sense that that would help limit the strength and the intensity as it moved inland. That has not happened yet. It has been going more like this throughout the night and into the morning. So that's going to give it a little more time to intensify before it makes landfall. Here's the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. You notice it still has it making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. But what's different from what I showed you last night during our 11 o'clock newscast is it becomes a Category 1 hurricane earlier now. It could become a Cat 1 overnight tonight, early Monday morning. 85-mile-per-hour winds. This is going to be the strongest hurricane in the world? No, thank goodness. But you still notice it's making landfall in the Big Bend of Florida, pretty close to Tallahassee. So if you know anybody in Tallahassee or on the Florida Panhandle for that matter, east of Panama, I don't think this is going to be a huge issue for Panama City at this point. The worst of the mess is going to stay east. But there has been a jog further to the west. Last night, the track was kind of right through here. Very similar to Idalia last year. But there's been a little jog to the west this morning with this track. So that trend may continue through the day today. We'll keep an eye on it. Regardless, Debby's going to make landfall, likely in the Florida Panhandle or the Big Bend near Tallahassee, sometime Monday. It looks like around midday Monday, 10, 11 a.m., noon, somewhere in that ballpark, as a Category 1. We're fairly confident in that. Beyond that, it's a mess. The models continue to struggle with where Debby goes once it starts to move inland. I spent quite a bit of time looking at all the different models this morning, be it our normal models like the GFS and the Euro, and some tropical specific models. And there's two trains of thought here, and this will kind of affect us depending on what happens. In general, what I'm seeing is Debby kind of meanders, as the Hurricane Center shows, on the Georgia, South Carolina coast, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe into early Thursday. So our concerns for a significant flooding event in Savannah, Charleston, Tybee Island, maybe even as far north as Myrtle Beach, that concern is very much still there. Where the real uncertainty kicks in, well, there's a couple of things. One, how quickly does Debby finally get a move on to the north and east? That's one thing we have to tackle. And another thing is, how far inland does Debby go? And that question is key for us when it comes to any rain chances we might have towards the end of the week and how cool we might get heading into next weekend. So that's why the cone from the Hurricane Center is basically a giant circle once you get towards Tuesday and Wednesday, because there's just so much spread among the models as to where the heck this thing's going to go. the main consensus that I've seen this morning with our forecast models is to just keep Debby stalled out, Georgia, South Carolina, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then go right up I-95 heading into Thursday and Friday. So that would put the center of Debby near Florence, South Carolina, for my racing fans out there, near Darlington, South Carolina, heading into eastern North Carolina, eastern Virginia. And if that track holds, we're not going to see much in the way of impacts here at home from Debby, aside from maybe a few more clouds as we get towards Friday, possibly Saturday, and also some slightly cooler temperatures, mid-80s. Yes, that's a cool down in August, right? So that's the primary thinking at this point. But the GFS in particular, not only has Debby stalled out Tuesday and Wednesday in Georgia and South Carolina, but it's got it going everywhere as we go towards the rest of next week. It's got it kind of making a jog back to the west and just meandering back in Georgia, Carolina, and then finally getting a move on about a week from now. So I think the GFS is kind of out to lunch on this at the moment. But we don't want to totally ignore it, because if, in fact, Debby meanders around this part of the world longer than we expect it to, and it shifts a little further west, that may bump up our rain chances by the end of the week. I'm not ready to go there just yet, but it's a trend that we will watch. For the time being, it looks as though the worst of Debby stays well to our east, and all we would get out of it would be just some wraparound northeast wind that would keep things calmer, give us a nice little breeze, and keep us cooler, possibly in the mid-80s by next weekend. So hope all that made sense. Like I said, the GFS is a little out to lunch right now, in my opinion, on where Debby is going to go. But nonetheless, this is going to be a big issue in the days to come for Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. The Hurricane Center, in fact, bumped up the storm surge risk to, I believe, close to maybe up to 10 feet of storm surge as this thing makes landfall tomorrow. So we will watch that very, very closely. I'll emphasize again, if you've got any interest in Florida from, let's say, Panama City to Tallahassee, down towards Tampa, even as far south as Fort Myers, pay attention to this, mainly for the storm surge potential and, of course, the wind. And if you got any interest in Valdosta, Georgia, Savannah, Charleston, watch this thing for potentially significant flooding by Tuesday and Wednesday. You don't have to have a big Cat 5 hurricane to have big issues. And Debby's going to remind us that very well here in the next couple of days. Sean says that Bermuda High really slingshotting those storms back out in the Atlantic. Yeah, it certainly is. There's another disturbance that the Hurricane Center actually flagged this morning that they are watching as we get towards next week, 7 to 10 days out. So that may be another one we have to tackle once we get Debby out of here. But in general, it looks like the worst of Debby for now will stay to our east. But there's still some wiggle room for that thing to scoot west as it moves inland, which may bump up our rain chances here at home by late week. We'll hold off on that for now. This is our primary thinking at the moment, you see on Futurecast. So here we are, right there, Louisville, Wave Country. And there's Debby making landfall at the bottom of your screen Monday afternoon. And there's pretty good consensus this thing is going to make landfall in that Florida Big Bend. That's been the case for a couple of days now. We get towards Tuesday. Starts to slow down in Georgia, in South Carolina, causing that potentially significant flooding, especially along the coast. Still meandering right along the coast as we get towards Wednesday. But notice by Thursday, and this is the European model, by the way, forgot to mention that. You notice by Thursday around 5 o'clock, Debby's finally starting to get a move on, going right up Interstate 95. If this eastern track holds, all we will see here in wave country is maybe a little more cloud cover. You can kind of see it right there. And also a nice northeast breeze that will make things feel a little cooler. So hopefully that trend continues for us. If that track goes further west through the mountains of North Carolina into Virginia, then we may have to introduce some higher rain chances by Thursday and Friday. But we're not ready to do that just yet. More than anything else, just expect a little more cloud cover and a slight cool down as we get towards late week. And then Debby pushes up the mid-Atlantic seaboard heading into next weekend. Here's your 10-day. No significant changes from the last time we talked last night. Very hot for the next few days, 92, 94, 96, with the heat index approaching 100 each of those afternoons. Then we got that weak system that'll maybe set off a few downpours Tuesday night and Wednesday. No big severe weather threat with that. Thank goodness, right? And then as we get towards next weekend, you see that cool down. Is it a lot? No, but mid-80s in August is a treat. So fingers crossed that trend holds. You notice we get towards next Monday and next Tuesday, so a week from now, or 8 or 9 days away, we bumped up those rain chances to around 20%. I was kind of alluding to when Savannah was asking about state fair time, that things might get a little busier. And I think around the 12th or 13th of August is when we may have to start tracking a few more storm chances. But that's really the only specifics we can get into at that range at the moment. All in all, things are pretty quiet. So I'm not going to ramble on too much longer. Any last comments, questions, thoughts, or concerns before we sign off this morning? We will be back on TV for Wave News tonight at 6. And then we will have our newscast as well around 11 o'clock this evening. But again, things are much quieter here at home compared to where they were last week. And that is not a bad thing at all, right? So get outside and enjoy this Sunday. Yes, it's going to be hot. You need to stay hydrated. Probably don't want to spend too much time outside, but this is the last summer weekend, I guess, for a lot of kiddos around here with school getting back in session. By the way, let me actually show you that real quick. Jefferson County, of course, starts on Thursday. Trinity starts on Thursday. Walden starts on Thursday as well. It looks pretty good. I don't know what it was, but it always seemed like when I was a kid, the first day of school, it poured every single time. I know it didn't, but especially I think it was elementary school. It just felt like it rained every first day of school. But that is not looking like the case at the moment for the first day for JCPS this year. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. Tiny shower chance, 10%. We may be able to get rid of that once we know where Debbie's going to go. Otherwise, just a mix of sun and clouds. Make sure the kiddos have that water bottle as they head back to class on Thursday, or really any day this week, with those highs in the 90s tomorrow and Tuesday. Cooler by mid to late week, yes, but still a little warm. So make sure they have that water with them as they head back to class. Ashley says the heat index is like I never left Florida. Yep. It doesn't want to go away, does it? All right, guys, that's going to do it for this morning. Again, we'll be back on TV tonight on Wave News at 6 after the Olympics. Looks like we got some gymnastics on right now. I'm not sure if Simone Biles is competing this morning, but so you want to check that out, have at it. We'll be back on after the Olympics tonight at 6, and then again at 11 p.m. as well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the sunshine and enjoy the quiet weather too. Talk soon.